Irwin,
Present.
Mrs. Killian,
Present.
Mrs. Lohr,
Present.
Mrs. Lauer, Dr. Powers,
Here.
Ms. Scott,
Here.
Mrs. Wise.
Here. Our vision and mission. Our vision is working together with our community. We inspire our students to discover their talents and rise to their greatest potential. Our mission is building on the strengths of our diverse community. We create an engaging, comprehensive educational environment that supports the growth of lifelong learners. Next is our consent agenda. And may we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make the motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that. We have a motion to approve in a second. Are there any discussions?
I'm wondering about our minutes from the last meeting. I was reviewing those and noticed that there was no copy of the letter that was read to us from the Indiana State Teachers Association's attorney. And I thought since we actually had a physical copy of that, that should be entered into the minutes because she did read it in entirety. Memory serves.
Do we need to amend the motion then to add that in?
Fine. Is that a motion, Ms. Scott?
I'll make a motion, we amended minutes.
I'll second that. There's been a motion to amend the minutes to include a copy of the letter from the attorney from the Teachers Association, and to include that in our minutes, and there's been a second. And Dr. Kohler?
Okay. Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye. Next, the March accounts payable docket.
I'd like to move that we accept the approve the March accounts payable docket as presented.
In our packet.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion?
The finance committee met, I guess that was Monday? Was that Monday? No, it was last week.
Thursday.
Sorry, Thursday last week. And we had several questions that were all cleared up. Everything seems to be in good shape, so.
Thank you. Dr. Kohler?
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye.
Next, donations, Superintendent Hayward.
Madam President, for the administration seeks approval to accept the attached donation list, which includes Franklin Elementary School and Otter Creek Middle School.
I move approval of the donations as presented.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion to approve the donations and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, Dr. Kohler?
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
Aye.
Mrs. Wise.
Aye. New business, our personnel report and professional leave requests. Ms. Donald?
President Killian, Superintendent Hayworth, members of the Board of School Trustees, on behalf of Mr. Cox, I come before you this evening to request approval of the personnel report and the professional leave requests as included in your board packet this evening.
Do I have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
Second.
I have a motion for approval and a second. Is there any discussion or questions? Dr. Kohler?
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott,
No.
Mrs. Wise.
Next on the agenda, Fanny and Howie were away. They've had a travel situation. They may be a little late, so we're going to move on down to number 4. Request to award bid for kindergarten Chromebooks. Mr. Doug Miller.
Thank you, President Killian, Dr. Hayward, and members of the board. I do ask for your approval tonight on the purchase of 1,350 Chromebooks for our incoming kindergarten students. We had 6 vendors bid on this project, with CDWG submitting the most competitive proposal of $564,975. And I ask for your approval of that bid tonight.
I'll make a motion to accept the request to award bid for kindergarten Chromebooks.
No second.
We've had a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments?
CDWG is the one who's won the other.
They've won all of them to this point.
And they've been very good to work with in the past, and
Been good
I
to
think
work
I
with.
remember our first big purchase, we couldn't get what we needed, and they were able to get us something a little bit better about the same price, and I remember they worked well with you.
Yeah, they've done a good job for us and delivered the products we've asked for. This is a $560,000 purchase, which is huge. There were 6 bidders with the highest bid, over $900,000. So for the identical product, so big spread there.
Any concerns about delivery?
That's why we're working on it early. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. I really do. It's kind of a balance. I didn't want to get them too early to where the warranty starts,
Right.
but hit the sweet spot in the summer for them to get here, so.
Well, and I can speak from experience, kindergartners don't need them on day one either. My daughter was in kindergarten this year, and they got them just after Christmas, and that was good timing. She was anxiously awaiting them and asking all the time when it was gonna get here, but I think if they have to wait a little bit, kindergartners have a lot to take in the first couple months.
Yeah, for sure.
Are we still funding our Chromebook purchases through ESSER dollars? Yes? Yes.
We are.
Thank you.
Okay. We've had a motion and a second. Dr. Bowler?
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian?
Aye.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Dr. Powers?
Aye.
Ms. Scott?
Aye.
Mrs. Wise?
Sale of IT equipment, Mr. Doug Miller.
Thank you for that. Also, I request the approval for the sale of used computer equipment. We have 12 vendors that bid on this equipment, and Valley Recovery Solutions provided the most competitive proposal of $55,500, and they will pick them up for that money. They'll arrange the freight, so I ask for your approval to sell that used equipment.
Do I have a motion?
I make the motion to accept the sale of IT equipment as presented.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or comments?
Do you do, what kind of wipe do you do on the system?
So, we work with folks that provide that for us, so we don't have to worry about it. They give us a contract that they provide that work for us, so we don't have to worry about what's on it, but there's nothing on these.
You're not going the harsh route of drilling through the hard drives or anything?
No, we won't, no, we won't do that.
Good price.
Right.
We have a motion and a second. Dr. Bowler?
Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian?
Aye.
Mrs. Moore?
Aye.
Dr. Powers? Ms. Scott? Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have grants. The first one is a Perkins Assessment Grant. Mr. Doug Gillian.
Superintendent Hayworth, President Killian, Board of School Trustees. I'm requesting approval for an assessment grant to help pay for industry credentials for our high school students. This is something that we can apply for from the state. And it's not a ton of paperwork, and it just gives us extra money to help pay for those credentials. They can range from NIMS to AWS welding, all the way through multiple career pathways. Gladly answer any questions.
Is this shared with,
Do we need a motion first and a second?
I was gonna ask if we're accepting all the grants together as one, and if we're gonna ask questions at the end after a motion for that.
Yeah, either way, I would lend myself to handling Doug's by himself, and then Dr. Goldberg's handle.
In which case, I'll make a motion to accept the grant as presented by Mr. Gillian.
I will second that. And then my question was, I know a lot of times the Perkins grant is shared between different counties. Would this one be shared as well, or is this one solely for us?
No, this one's solely for us.
Okay.
I have a question too. Is there like a rough idea of like how many credentials you get for that much money? Because it didn't seem like a huge grant, but I was just curious.
Well, they actually trimmed this grant down quite a bit. Those of us that do a lot of industry credentials, we got to apply for a lot more last year. We're hoping that goes back up. There's a broad range of cost credentials, but there are some that are very expensive, where it's $300 a student. So this wouldn't go very far on those type of credentials. Mainly like the NIMS credentials, the AWS, those we hit about $150 a student by the time the registration. We use this grant for that, and we have money set aside in our basic grant to help offset some of the more expensive ones.
I know what NIM stands for in my occupation.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which is a FEMA.
That is actually a machining credential.
Okay.
And it's real popular here. We've really worked hard to kind of create a little incubator for the machining career pathways. So there's a series of 7 credentials that we administer at the high school level, and it helps them, like the new GE Federal Registered Apprenticeship. Our students will be able to go into that with a year complete of that, as well as, of course, other programs.
Great. And we had a motion and a second. Dr. Gold.
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian, Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers, Ms. Scott, Mrs. Watts.
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Gillian. And next we have the remainder grants with Dr. Karen Roller.
Thank you, President Killian, Superintendent Hayworth, and members of the board. We bring you the first grant, which is a Project Aware student-led grant. And as you are aware, we participate in Project Aware with 3 other districts across the state of Indiana. And this has been a tremendous opportunity for us to train more teachers in mental health practices. And so what this would do, the Indiana Department of Ed opened up the request for proposal process to students. So we had students at Terre Haute North and students at West Vigo High School that wrote the application for the grant, and they received it. Terre Haute North received $3,000 and West Vigo received $1,500. And as you see in the information, this would help these students work with counselors and come up with ways to train peers in the building about mental health awareness as well as mental health understanding. And so the funds will go to supplies for things like posters and t-shirts and things to promote mental health and the understanding of other students that are experiencing mental health issues. So that is the first grant. And then the second grant we're very excited about. It's a STEM acceleration grant. And what this would enable the district to do is to move forward. As you know, we have STEM as one of our VCSC strategic planning goals, and it would help us train teachers to provide some excellent professional development with 5-star technology services out of Indianapolis. We would have fall training for our teachers in STEM across the disciplines, which would involve things like problem solving skills, inquiry-based skills, so that teachers would be able to implement some STEM practices in different content areas. And then in the spring, we would have more training, which would roll out some of the computer science standards across districts, or disciplines, I'm sorry. So we're excited about that. Besides paying the vendor, the trainer, it would also allow our teachers to receive stipends for attending that training. So we're very excited about that opportunity and want to thank John Newport, Curriculum Coordinator, and Dee Gosnell, our District Math Coach, for helping work on that grant. And then the third one is a Student Learning Recovery Grant. The Indiana Department of Ed had additional funds We were fortunate to be a district last year that received Student Learning Recovery Grant funds, and those are providing wonderful opportunities for our students to have some after-school tutoring at the Terre Haute Boys and Girls Club. It provides during the day educational assistance and a digital platform for our students. So there were more funds available. So we worked with the United Way of the Wabash Valley to apply for those and then received an additional $77,000. So we would look at purchasing more supplies for our grades 4 and 7 field trips, so our students would be able to participate in more hands-on activities. We had a committee that has so many great ideas about manufacturing, ideas for kids to learn and use their hands to develop products. So we'd love to move forward on that. And this would also provide funding for teachers to develop a pre and a post curriculum so that before teachers in the 4th grade and the 7th grade take their students on that field trip to experience the NEAT trailer, they would have a curriculum to load their backpack ahead of time, and then at the end to reflect on the experiences that they had. So it would definitely accelerate their learning. Before they go there, they would have more knowledge, and then at the end, they could think about what they learned. So very excited about that opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Kohler. Do we have a motion for approval and a second?
I move approval of the grants as presented.
I'll second that.
Do you have any questions or discussion? Dr. Kohler, thank you for that presentation, and roll call, please.
Okay. Mr. Irwin?
Aye.
Mrs. Killian?
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr?
Aye.
Dr. Powers?
Aye.
Ms. Scott? Mrs. Wise?
Aye.
Since we are still waiting on Fanny and Howie, we are going to go ahead and move forward with our call for citizens' comments.
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Sure. About that?
If you want to come up to the podium and state your name.
In 5 minutes.
I just had a question about the Project Aware
Sure.
that you mentioned. You said it was for peer-to-peer teaching other kids how to counsel themselves? Is that what you said?
What it is, we have a large, do you want me to respond on this?
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
sorry.
it's- We have a large Project Aware grant in which we train our teachers about mental health awareness. And I've been through the training. What it does is it makes you aware, like there's a chapter on depression, there's one on anxiety. It teaches you, if you're with a large group of people and you know somebody's experiencing a mental health situation, you're more aware of it, and it sensitizes you to the situation, and you can sit down and perhaps provide some assistance to that person. And so in our high schools, our student groups were interested in working with the counselors that work with students that might have some of these mental health kinds of issues, and they might be able to be more knowledgeable about things that their peers are experiencing.
Okay, are those Panorama Surveys, does that go with the Project Aware?
We are not doing the Panorama Surveys with this group at all, no.
No, so that was it with this group before that?
Not with the students. When the Project Aware first started, we had Panorama Surveys the first 2 years, but we did not purchase that this year.
My son has done 3 of them this year.
We did not purchase it through the grant this year. There may have been something left over from last year that maybe he's still involved in, but
He
as
was
of...
never involved with any of it other than everyone in the class had to do it, so.
Okay, we'd be glad to look into that
Yeah.
for you. But again, this year we did not purchase it through the
Okay.
grant.
Okay, yeah, he's done 3 of those, and then he's done one from Bloomington. There are some surveys from Bloomington, some from ISU. But, and we don't get, I guess this is just a comment, I kind of have a problem with not getting any kind of consent form on it. He lets me know whenever he gets one, and I pull it up on his campus and look at them. And the last one, the one that came from Bloomington, was the whole entire survey was like a mental health check, like when you were getting checked in, just where they're asking about all their drug use and history of drug use. This is all the drugs, when did you last use it, if you used used it? Where did you get it? Do your parents do drugs at home? Have your parents ever been arrested before? Do they have felonies? I mean, that kind of stuff is not,
Yeah, we'll need to check that.
yeah, it came from Bloomington, and we don't get any kind of consent form about it. I don't even know if that's legal, but,
You said it was on Canvas?
it was on campus. I can email you a copy of it. I just print screen the whole thing, if you want.
Yes.
I'll be able to track it down.
Okay, all right, but that was it. That's the question. Thank you.
Hey, Sarah, can you give us a little update on how things are going? Just maybe what you shared with me about how it's coming together and starting to see some recognizable spaces, maybe.
Sure.
We're doing some song and dance here.
Okay, sure. So Sarah Gore, principal at Otter Creek Middle School, and we had a faculty meeting today, and at the conclusion of our faculty meeting, it's a very exciting time at Otter Creek when projects are starting to become complete. And so, natural curiosity, everyone wants to take a peek behind the curtain and see what's happening. So we were fortunate to be able to go on our second tour, and projects that are complete. Our students are currently using our new fitness facility, our new fitness room. One of the locker rooms is complete. Our auxiliary gym is looking fantastic. The new floors are down and they are striped, which means those athletic lines are down. And the top coat is on. We're not able to walk on it yet, but it looks beautiful. If I had a picture, I'd put it up for you. It's one of those cases where I'm excited that I believe our main gym floor may be getting refinished this summer, because right now the bridesmaid looks a lot prettier than the bride. Also, our cafeteria is coming along. We cannot enter that space from our building just yet, but seeing it from the outside, it's going to be a lovely space. Over spring break, the music wing, where the orchestra and choir and band will be, we will be turning that over to Garmong, who is doing the construction before we leave for spring break, and they will begin really diving into that side of the building. They've been great to work with as far as they're communicating with us very well. I always know ahead of time when a project is going to occur, when we need to make a change to our daily schedule. And if we have something come up as a school, because of course we are at school and learning and doing activities every day, they are wonderful to take a pause or make an adjustment and work on something else so that we can have that happen. Our teachers were very excited early on in the project, which seems like a long time ago that we started this. We were able to add those faculty restrooms, and that has been a hit with the staff and faculty, so thank you for that. We do have some sound paneling that went up just this week. I'm trying to think of everything off the top of my head. And that has helped in our fitness room contain the sound of just weights and machinery when the kids are in there. It's very popular right now during gym class. They're requesting to be in there all the time. And also a very small item that was installed, but right now it's the only one we have. We'll have more by the time the project is finished, but the water fountain in the girls' locker room has a water bottle filler, and it is a very hot commodity with our students. They absolutely love to go fill their water bottle. So such a small thing and a huge project that they're very excited about.
Sarah, thank you for pitching in there. Thank you. We could recess for a few minutes.
Do we know where they're at out there?
Have you asked for citizen comments?
Yes.
Oh,
And we have no forms.
oh, so.
Committee reports?
Yeah.
All right, on presentations for vendors sharing their vision for the renovation of Woodrow Wilson. There were some very exciting possibilities.
Any other committee reports? The CTE group met, and I would encourage that soon invitations will go to the board for seeing the open house.
Oh, yeah.
To see the one fully complete house and the other, that's been serving as a classroom. But I'll go and see the wonderful work of the students doing actual construction. It's very impressive of what they are able to accomplish. And the nice neighborhood that they have constructed over the years.
Where is it? Where's that?
29th and Farrington Street is where the cul-de-sac starts, so that's a block north of College. And it drives back into a little cul-de-sac, and actually, it's a big turnaround. We learned in studying that school buses take more space to turn around than a fire truck. So what the city code was for the side of the cul-de-sac wouldn't have let a school bus make the swing in one lap if it's one of the long buses. So we
Wow, would be the wrong word.
yeah, we don't want to hit anything. So we added 10 feet to the cul-de-sac, so it's got you can't miss it.
I believe this is Miss Mary Pinsky. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, Mary Kropinski,
And
thank
she's
you.
with Annie and Holly.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you waiting so that I can go through this with you this evening. I am project manager for the Otter Creek Middle School project, and I'm here to present 2 change orders as well as give you an update on Otter Creek. So the first change order is CO03, and it deals with 2 issues. One is asbestos within the window caulking at the cafeteria windows that have been removed and are, we're building a whole new window wall with that. That item is at a cost of $4,539,000. And so that is mostly for the removal as well as waste disposal of that material.
Could you repeat that amount again,
Yeah.
please?
Yes, sure. $4,539,000. The second item on that change order is to provide battery backup to the emergency lights throughout the new portions of the building that we're doing. And that is to change that from, we had it marked as connecting to an emergency generator, and we needed to change that to connecting to battery backup. So that is something that we needed to correct in construction documents. That is at a cost of $26,982. I would tell you, we worked very hard at reducing that, about a third of the original cost that we received on that. So those items together for change order 3 come to $31,521. And let me go through the numbers and then I can come back and answer any questions you have about these. Change order 4, that is the cost to remove and reroute roof drainage coming over the existing locker room, coming past the new music wing and out to the drainage field on the southwest side of the school, just outside the new music wing. That is a hidden condition, and so that is being able to take that from the ceiling plenum down through and under the slab of the new sidewalk, the new corridor that goes out that new entry. Again, this one's a fairly complicated condition, That one is at a cost of $18,748,000, 18748. The good news I can tell you about how the costs in the project are going is that we are about 60% through the project. And we had a contingency of $233,000. With these totals tonight, we're only at $60,000, which is, just slightly over 1%. And so that is at an extremely good rate for where we are at this point in time. As you know, if you haven't been by there lately, I'd certainly recommend taking a drive. The gymnasium walls have been up for a while. The wood floor is down and walls are painted. All the cow wall windows are in. Over spring break, they are getting ready to move part of the music program into the gymnasium. They'll be working on tarps for the most part. And that is so that we can vacate the existing music wing and begin renovating it. So the shell of just about all the additions are up. The cafeteria addition, that whole window wall and floor and all that is in place. The next big move that you will see will be the renovation portion. The cafeteria will stay in operation as it is through the end of the school year, and we'll make the switch over to that over the summer. We'll be getting a new serving line with that and making connections through to the existing kitchen. The music rooms will get finished out. The art room will get finished over the summer, and the new entry. So with that, we are on schedule. I can tell you it's been a great team. Our communication has gone very well. It's just a very experienced team, and it's just gone very smoothly. With that, everyone is scheduled to wrap that up by the end of July and be ready for August occupancy. So, happy to answer any questions.
So I had a question.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and take a motion to approve, and then the questions and comments.
No problem. I make the motion to approve the change orders as presented.
I'll second that.
So this is really just a overall question here. So in the change order, I heard the word asbestos, that obviously has been taken care of in the change order. In your opinion, is that something we need to investigate throughout the rest of the school, or was that an isolated thing?
Usually that is only when you actually disturb material. And so the fact that we were taking those windows out, they have to go to a designated landfill, et cetera.
All right, thank you.
So.
Yeah, that's just, I had no experience with that, so I appreciate you giving me that information.
I was wondering about the battery one. What makes you have to change?
Yeah, what makes you have to change that?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, we had it marked incorrectly on our drawings. And so, we're not 100% perfect, we try to be, but we're not quite there. And so it was within the electrical schedule. Whenever we had an emergency light, we had it connected, we had it marked incorrectly going to an emergency generator, which is non-existent on the project, and that was our oversight, and they actually need to be battery backup. So we've gone through the process of getting that work recategorized to get that corrected.
Okay, so are batteries just more expensive than the generator? You'll forgive my ignorance.
Well, no.
Okay. So
But
just
it's a
changing it
change,
from
and
one
it's,
to the other is what
so if you have an emergency generator, you have your power source, and all you're doing is connecting. When you don't have that power source, you have to create those power sources, and that's what the battery backups
It
do.
just doesn't exist. I
So,
get that. Okay.
The incorrect thing was that there was the assumption that there was a battery or a generator
Yes.
already
Already
there,
on
and
site.
there was not a generator.
That's
there.
correct.
So
Yes.
that's why we have to go and put battery backups in, so that if the power goes out, there's solar.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? You've had a motion and a second. Dr. Bowler, roll call.
Mr. Irwin,
Aye.
Mrs. Killian,
Aye.
Mrs. Lohr,
Aye.
Dr. Powers,
Aye.
Ms. Scott, Mrs. Wise.
Thank you very much.
Great, I'm sure I'll be back in a couple months to fill you in as we wrap up.
Mary, you mentioned coming by and seeing, any thought of maybe at what point you would want to maybe take forward on a tour?
We'd love that opportunity. You set up a time and we'll be there to do it. I'm sure Garmong would love to be part of that and walk us through, since it is actually their work and their safety precautions that we'll have to work with. So I'd like to include them in that as well.
Thinking about the cafeteria, would it be a place where we would be able to add it to the tour? Or-
You can see the addition, but you can't see the two cafeterias connected together yet. So I'm sure as soon as school is over, that wall will come down very quickly. So I would say, as soon as the semester's over, that'd be a great time.
I will say I drive by it quite often. I live in the north end, and I've peeked around just to see it all going up. My boys went there, so I'm excited.
I was just there last Tuesday, and it was really exciting. It's always exciting to see it come about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It looks like the only thing left is information from Superintendent Hayward and board members.
Nothing for me at this time.
I have something. I just wanted to make everyone aware, the board and the audience. We're celebrating Women's History Month, and they're dedicating a plaque to Willa Brown, a woman that's on my pen, at the airport this week. It'd be a great thing if any of you want to attend. She's a fascinating individual, and I know what I know about Willa because I've heard Dr. Crystal Reynolds speak about her at several historical meetings and forums over the last few months. But Willa went to Sarah Scott, into Wiley, into ISU. She was the first Black woman to run for Congress. And as Crystal says, you're thinking somebody like, Mrs. Chisholm, Shirley Chisholm. But Willa didn't win, but she was the first one to run. And she was also the first woman to have her license, to be a mechanic, and to also fly airplanes. And I just think that's pretty cool, as she is from Terre Haute. And as we think about March being Women's History Month, I just thought you really could not let that pass without remembering Willa Brown.
When is that happening?
Thursday afternoon at the airport. Oh, I know, I had another note too. We had a parent speak to us about the contest that the NAACP held, and it was wonderful. They had topics on racism, redlining. You all remember the wonderful things that she told us about those kids. And I just thought we would be remiss if we didn't recognize those young people. And maybe even, I would like to have a copy of some of those essays, because they just sounded like they were so fabulous. And they were all our kids. So maybe we could have them come to a future meeting.
Thank you, Rosemary. Anyone else? I just want to say, if you're on Facebook, I think our communications department does a great job showcasing, students and other things going on within the corporation. And if you have a chance to check that out, I would encourage you to do so. It's up to date and it's fast paced because we're doing so many great things. So I really appreciate those students and teachers and corporation-led events being showcased that way. So thank you for that, and check it out. If there's nothing else, our next meeting will be Monday, April 11th, here at 6 p.m. And do I have a motion for adjournment?
Move to adjourn.
Second.